All right. So the next thing that we want to do, that we did not do before, but we did when we were in the console, is you can see that if we click over to subnet associations, we have no subnet associations. So that means that when we actually put an EC2 instance in our public subnet, it's not going to be associated with our subnet, with our route table, so it won't get to connect to the internet. I was gonna like do a gotcha where we like create the EC2 instance and then debug, but I figure since we're already on the route table, let's just do it. And we're not gonna do it on the console, we're gonna do it with Terraform. All right, so let's go back to here, and then we're gonna say association. And you can see it's a pretty easy resource to do. All right, so AWS Route Table Association, what should we call it? I'm going to just call it Public Subnet Association. I like that, GitHub. Thank you. All right, and then we have to actually correct this. So AWS subnet.publicsubnet.id is perfect. And then the route table ID is going to be AWS Route Table, Public Route Table ID. Perfect. All right, so now let's go ahead and Terraform apply and see how we do. So yep, it's gonna create our association. Let's go ahead and say, yes, please. And that has been added. So let's go ahead and we'll make this bigger and let's refresh this page. And we can see that when we have subnet associations that woohoo, we have our public subnet. All right. So let's go ahead now, and what we want to do next is we are going to create our public EC2 instance, okay? And if you remember from the last challenge, the goal of our public EC2 instance is just to redirect traffic to the instance in our private subnet. All right, but for now, since we have to install NGINX on it anyway, we're gonna set up the instance, and then we're gonna try to see that NGINX homepage. Oops. So let's pull this over again. There we go. And we are going to go up, and instead here we're going to say AWS instance, and we are going to find the official instance resource on Terraform registry. And let's load it. There we go. All right. So if you look at the resource here, it's looking like it's getting the data. So when you see data, what it's doing is it's going and pulling data from AWS and giving it to us. All right. So it's looking up what is we're trying to get the AMI for Ubuntu. All right. It's looking for the most recent Ubuntu AMI. And then it's filtering the name it wants is this. The virtualization type is this, and the owner is that. I don't know what all of that is. We're going to keep with the AWS Linux. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste in the AMI from the console. But this would be a great like exercise to do, is to figure out like how can we get the most recent Linux AMI. So add that too if you have extra time. Go ahead and try to play around with this data block and see if you can do it. All right. You can then see for AMI, they're using the result of the data, what AWS returned, all right, and the ID there. Okay. So we are just going to copy this guy here. All right. And then we are going to add it here. All right. So we're going to say resource AWS instance, and then I am going to put public instance. All right. The AMI that we're going to use, I'm going to go to the console to get Copilot is like, let me pick. Okay. And so I'm going to go to launch instance so I can just find the AMI. And here's the one that we're going to use. And we'll put that in there. And then I don't want to name it Hello World. I want to name it Coding with Callie Public EC2. All right. So this is good, but you'll remember that we did more than just this, because this is going to use the default VPC. All right. And we don't want to use the default VPC. So we're going to kind of scroll through. We're going to try to figure out. All right. So network specification example. Perfect. Okay, so let's go to the AWS instance. Mm, that's not all right. And then we have a subnet ID that we can put on it. So let's go ahead and add that. So we have our AMI, we have our instance type, and then, yep, we want to do our subnet ID is going to be equal to AWS underscore subnet dot public subnet dot ID. So now when it creates this AWS instance, it's going to put it in this subnet. So that is perfect. All right, what else do we need? Actually, you know what we're going to do? Mm, 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 mm. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. Let's have a gotcha here. All right, we're going to have a few gotchas coming up. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is Terraform apply. Let's take a look at what it's planning to do. All right, so it's going to create one resource, and what it's going to do is, yep, it's creating our AWS instance. I'm fine with it creating that. So we're going to go ahead and say yes, and now it's creating, which, yay. Still creating. All right, so let me open this up now that it's created, and let's go to instances. And you can see that it's running, okay? But the first gotcha that we have is that we don't have a public IP address because we didn't specify that in our plan. So anything that manually you had to do in the console, you have to specify as well in Terraform. All right. Then let's go to our Connect tab, and we have our second gotcha. We have no associated key pair. So we can't SSH into this instance because we don't have a key pair, right? Remember that we created a private key file on our computer, and then we used that private key in order to SSH into it. Well, we can't do that if we don't have a key pair. So let's solve each of these problems one at a time, okay? So I want to add a public IP address. So I'm going to type in Terraform EC2 public IP. Mm, 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 mm. Um, so let's just look for public. Do I see public? All right, so public IP, that looks like that's going to be an attribute that's part of this. So let's take a look. Oh, and it looks like we have associate public IP address true. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a try. So let's go and see if we can find that in the docs. Yep. All right, argument reference, optional, whether to associate a public IP address instance with the VPC in the VPC. And we do want that, right? So let's go ahead and Terraform apply. Again, that fixes one of our gotchas. All right, and you can see that we're going to destroy the EC2 instance that we did before, and we're going to add a new one. Let's go ahead and say, yes, please. So it's destroying it. And then after it successfully destroys, it's going to create a new one. All right, so while it's doing that, let's go ahead and take a look at key pairs. Okay, so I'm going to type in Terraform EC2 key pair. It looks like there's already a Terraform registry resource for that. And it looks like it's not too bad to create. All right. Still destroying. So let's read through this. Okay. Provides an EC2 key pair resource. A key pair is used to control login access to EC2 instances. Currently, this resource requires, okay, so this is the issue here, right? Our goal is to, in one terminal command, create all of the infrastructure, okay? So this resource here that we're doing is going to be referencing a public key pair that already exists, okay? And that would mean that we would have to create the public key pair, okay? So we need to also look at, we're gonna need to look at how we do that with Terraform as well. All right, so let's open up that. Oh, it looks like the resource is added, so we'll go check that. But let's do Terraform EC2 private key. And you can see that I did a lot of research on this before I started filming to figure this out, because I did not know how to do all of this beforehand. Um, mm, mm, mm. There's scan through. So it looks like they're creating the key pair in their terminal. All right. I might have to go and look at my bookmarks, because, yeah, they're using the resource here. All right. It's not exactly what we want, but let's go ahead and go look at our EC2 instance. Let's see how we're doing. So yep, see how it terminated that one and then it created a new one, okay? So if you look, now we have a public IP address, which is what we want, but we still have no associated key pair. All right, so I'm on another tab right now in a different window, because I'm going to go search through my bookmarks, see if I can find the exact resource that helped us before. I'm looking. All right. I'm not sure I'm finding it. That is okay. All right, so I'm going to end this video here so I can go find the exact article that we can go through that explains it really well, and then I will kind of jump back on in the next video.